I'm not saying learn with others, but rather learn from others how you can be romantic toward your wife. Husbands, love your wives. How can we men model love for our ladies? Here's a list of ideas. Initiate daily devotions. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly, so write them down there on your outline. Initiate family devotions. Initiate conversation on a deeper level. Conversation on a deeper level. Guys, let me tell you something. It's not conversation. You see? I think I've told this story before when my nephew told me that. You know, I'm from Colombia, South America. And apparently an American tourist went to Colombia, got to the airport and got into a taxi cab. And on the way to the hotel, the American tourist said to the taxi driver, "Why is it that you people here in Colombia, when someone asks you a question and you want to answer yes, you say and when somebody asks you a question and you want to say no, you say And the taxi driver said, That's not conversation, guys. You need to initiate conversation, which means you listen attentively to what your wife is saying. Repeat back to her what you just heard. Validate her feelings. Boy, that must be rough. You must be frustrated. That would be upsetting. That's what we mean by initiate conversations on a deeper level. Give her tasteful public displays of affection like winks, pats, eye contact. Verbalize to the family that your wife is a special person. Do something with her that she likes to do even if you don't like to do it. Verbalize your love for her to others by bragging on her. Be quick to forgive because that shows her unconditional love and respect. Make sure she has time for herself and for the Lord. Value her feelings, even if they don't seem rational or logical. By the way, when we talk about feelings, this is not, or share your feelings with her and trust her, but this is not what I mean by sharing your feelings. You always complain that I don't know how to show my emotions, so I made these signs. That's not how you share your feelings with your spouse, all right? Notice the way that she looks and dresses, because that too is important. Number 3, wives, respect your husbands. Ephesians 5 also talks to the wives. We'll begin on those verses that we skipped. Verse 22, wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as also Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, just as the church is subject to Christ, let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. And then again to verse 33, nevertheless, let each one of you in particular so love his own wife as himself, and let the wife see that she respects her husband. So again, men long to be respected as a provider and protector of the home. And so ladies, how can you model respect for your husbands? You have your own list. He needs to know that you support, honor, and trust him. So verbalize that in public and in front of the children. Seek his advice. Encourage him to be all he can be. Stand by him and show him you admire him. Show him you believe in him and you defend him. Never criticize him in public. Listen attentively. Affirm him by suggesting that others seek him out for advice or counsel. Don't flirt with other men. And the one that I go for 100%, prepare his favorite meals. If you saw the picture, my picture when we were single, you would feel sorry for me. But after 20 years of marriage, she just has fattened me up good. I've prepared all my favorite meals all the time. So we have looked at 3 remedies for a dying family. First, make God the first person in your family. Secondly, husbands, love your wives. Thirdly, wives, respect your husbands. Now, number 4, do not expect perfection of your spouse unless you are perfect yourself. I'm lonely, Adam told God in the Garden of Eden. I need to have someone around for company. Okay, replied God, I'm going to give you the perfect woman. Beautiful, intelligent, gracious. She'll cook and clean for you and never say a cross word. Adam says, that sounds great. how much is she going to cost me? And God said, an arm and a leg. And so Adam said, well, what can I get for a rib? And that's what he got. See, we want the best wife with the minimum investment of ourselves. You probably heard the story of the newlyweds on their honeymoon night. The groom took his bride by the hand and said, now that we're married, dear, I hope you don't mind if I mention a few little defects that I have noticed about you. Not at all, the bride replied with a deceptive sweetness. It was those little defects that prevented me from having a better husband. Ooh, right. Oh, not yet. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. I don't want you to go there. James White said a key to a healthy marriage is to keep your eyes, James Dobson, yes, the key to a healthy marriage is to keep your eyes wide open before you wed and half closed thereafter. But you know what I find is that couples that are dating do the opposite. They half close their eyes when they're dating, and suddenly when they're married, whoa, I hadn't seen that before. And then they begin to look at all those things that bother them, which continue to destroy that relationship and eventually leads to the end of that relationship. So this is wise counsel. It's best to have your eyes wide open when you're dating. And if there are things in your relationship that bother you, that you have concerns about, you might as well stop that relationship and not think, once we're married, things will change. Do you remember C.D. Brooks, the great preacher, a black preacher in Adventist history? He used to say that when a bride comes to the church, she sees three things. She stands there at the door of the church and she sees three things. She sees the aisle, she sees the altar, and she sees the groom. And she thinks to herself, that's what I'm going to do. I'll altar him. I'll altar him. I tell you what, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's better to end the relationship before marriage rather than thinking that after marriage you can change the other person. And now we go to the cartoon here. You don't look anything like the long-haired, skinny kid I married 25 years ago. I need a DNA sample to make sure it's still you. That's so much like, oh, I mean, look, she's even blonde and I have no hair. I think it reminds me of what we used to be like, too. I like this one, too. I think my belly's nice. No matter how far apart we are, I'm always closer to you than I used to be. So, hey, benefit from the differences. And the fifth element to a healthy marriage is that commitment. Commitment is crucial. When we got married, we don't vow to get married till love do us part, until the cord do us part, but until death do us part. Although I received an email not too long ago about the couple that have been married about 35 years, and he died and went to heaven, supposedly. You know, theologically might not be the correct story, but he went to heaven, and about 15 years later, she died and went to heaven, and there at the gates of heaven, she looked at a distance and saw her husband and started running toward him, honey, honey, and the man looked at her and said, hey, wait a minute, the agreement was until death do us part. So, that's not what we want to do, right? In actuality, we want to be married for eternity. Would you say that? I don't understand, really. I have to confess. I don't understand the passage where Jesus says that we'll be like angels. When I get to heaven, I want to see my wife. I want to see my girls. I want to see my family. Don't you? I think we'll recognize each other. And if we recognize each other, wouldn't we want to be with the ones that we spent our life on earth with? I want to do that. But that commitment has to start here. If there's something lacking in today's marriages, is that type of commitment. To last, the marriage relationship calls for conscious, overt acts of commitment to each other and to the whole idea of marriage by both husband and wife. The problem is that we live in a disposable society. When I have a pen that stops working, I just throw it away. I can buy a dozen pens cheaper than to try to get a refill for this pen. When the car that I drove for the last 5 years, just doesn't have that smell